Good morning and welcome to Sturgeon Public Schools Public Board Meeting for October 23rd, 2024. I am going to call the meeting to order at 10 o'clock and ask Trustee Pequin to please provide the land acknowledgement this morning.
Morning. Sturgeon Public Schools respectfully acknowledges that we teach, learn, and grow together on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We honor and respect the history, languages, ceremonies, and cultures of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples who have called this land home for countless generations. We recognize the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and Inuit for all of their love and care and stewardship of this place. We are grateful for those who share their knowledge with us and help us to foster a respectful relationship with all of our relatives on this land. We are committed to understanding the harms done in the name of education and continuing to learn to honor the true spirit of Treaty 6 as a promise of friendship, collaboration, and a peaceful alliance.
Thank you, Trustee Pequin. I'm looking for approval of the agenda at this time. Trustee Murray Elliott.
I move to approve the agenda for the October 23rd board meeting.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. And on to number 4, approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes? Can I get a motion to approve, please? Trustee Dwyer. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Business arising from the minutes, there is none. Oh, sorry. Approval of the minutes for the special board meeting of October 4th, 2024. Trustee Murray Elliott.
I move to approve the minutes of the special board meeting of October 4th, 2024.
All in favor? Approved unanimously. Business arising from the minutes, there is none. And I see we do have a presentation this morning. I will ask Superintendent Warren to please introduce.
Thank you, Chair. Shauna Warren, Superintendent. I would like to welcome this amazing team from Four Winds Public School, and they are going to be sharing about the Inspire program. And I know that our Vice Chair is very familiar with this program. It's very exciting to see that it has continued and is flourishing. So I will turn it over to the principal, Gidget Bouchard.
Hi, I'm Gidget Bouchard. I'm the principal over at Four Winds, and we have the great joy and the absolute honor of having Inspire join us in partnership for their 3rd year in a row. When Inspire first started, it was 8 girls that were in the program, and I've seen it flourish now to having 18 girls and 18 boys this year. The impact on the students has been incredible. We've been able to see the shyness of them in their first meeting to them being able to have such leadership potential by the time of graduation in June. And it's not only with the kiddos, we see it also with the families, because this is an opportunity to engage the families in bring them into the school and see how the impact of this capacity building in their child and how they see their child thrive as they develop into young leaders and life-ready citizens. Inspire was actually a partnership that grew from a relationship that the vice principal, Savannah, fostered with Jesse's house. And so I'm going to pass it to Savannah as she just talks a little bit about how it came to be Inspire in our school.
Yeah. So in about 2021, I was teaching at Four Winds, and I ran our behavior programming called Strategies, and I did a little bit of school counseling as well. And just coming out of COVID, our building was really experiencing a big uptick of families in difficult domestic situations, and just our youth experiencing mental health crisis. And so I was lucky, actually, a coworker of mine, his dad is a psychiatrist from CASA. And I said, hey, would you mind talking through my programming with me and helping me just with some ideas on behavior? And so we were kind of doing the rundown, and he said, wow, my biggest advice to you is grow your village. And he said, get out into the community and see how Four Winds can partner. And so I just got on the phone and I started calling around Morinville just to see what partnerships there were. And because we're just coming from where everything was closed down, it was just that opportunity to network and to really get to know our community again in a fresh way. And through that, I was invited to the monthly Morinville Community of Practice meeting where I met some representatives from Jesse's House. And I was kind of just putting it out there that we were looking for partners. And so I was invited over to Jesse's house for a tour and had a lovely afternoon there, just the ladies talking about some of the different challenges and some of the things that they were seeing as well. And out of that, it started as kind of a grassroots opportunity where they took just a couple of our students that were most at risk and just worked with them in sort of a mentorship. And so we did sort of a work study with just a couple students where they were able to get experience at Jesse's house, developing programming for younger kids, having experiences working in the kitchen and prepping meals, and really just seeing themselves in a different light as a different type of leader. And it was just an amazing experience. At the end of that year, they had the students, they did a special presentation with family. And then Sylvie was able to share with us that they had applied for a grant and that they were looking at expanding that year into a more formal way, into a more formal program. And so just seeing the growth in our students has been amazing. One of the students from that very first year, I actually bumped into them over the summer and they were so excited to share with me that their first experience at Jesse's house had allowed them to get a really coveted summer job this year as a youth programmer for some summer camps. And so seeing just the skills and experiences where the student might not have had them was really amazing to see. I'll turn it over to these ladies just to talk about how this has grown.
Do you want me to mention how we find the recruitment?
We do have a spot in here, so yeah,
Perfect.
I'll let you speak
Okay.
that time. Okay, good morning. So my name is Doreen. I am one of the facilitators for the Inspire program with Four Winds Public Schools. So I work with the Jessica Martel Memorial Foundation, and my role is community education. And this is my coworker.
Hey everyone, my name is Genesis Flores. I also work for the Jessica Martel Memorial Foundation. I'm also one of the facilitators, but I also do the Outreach Culture Connector at Jesse's house as well.
And we will actually be having a male facilitator starting with us very soon. So we're really excited about that because we've just started with the boys program this year. So we'll just go through this. Oh, did I go?
Yeah. Careful. Take that
There we go. Okay, so we just kind of did it in introduction. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Don't click too fast. Okay, so we're just going to talk a little bit about the program, just for anybody who's wondering. And okay, I'll let you start going.
Okay, yeah. So as they mentioned initially, the Inspire program began with a small group of 8 to 10 girls, and then the following year expanded to 13 girls. And now this year we have 18 boys and 18 girls. We were able to expand this as we received a grant, which was able to fund part of the program through the status of women's culture with the government of Alberta, which is super exciting. And yeah, the purpose of that was to not just support the girls, but support the boys as well and making them allies. So that's kind of like the inception of the Inspire program.
Okay, so yeah, just to speak more to that. So obviously as the facilitators, we are coming into the school. We do a little bit of mentoring. This year we're on site at the school for a few days during the week, in the morning right up until the 4th block where Inspire takes place. And we're there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, kind of as our schedules permit, because we do have other jobs outside of Inspire. But the purpose of that is just to kind of build like that awareness in the school that we're there. We're extra support for the students of Inspire, particularly. And then if anybody that the school is wanting to have us support, then we'll work with them with that. And basically the focus is that we want to help the youth who are ready for growth and benefits, learning about leadership within themselves, self-esteem, and how they personal empowerment as well.
So you may ask, what is mentorship? So it's active listening, offering healthy coping strategies with the students, fostering that rapport that's needed with the students as well, providing community resources as well as culturally relevant support. So we do have like Elder Whitcomb, we do sharing circles, we do kind of bridge that gap for individuals who need that cultural component. We also encourage healthy relationships for them, not just at school, but outside of school. And we really emphasize the need for community building and how like this community is your community and let's reach out. So that's part of kind of like the mentorship program. So what are some of the services? So we do have individual mentorship sessions. So this may be maybe a student's feeling overwhelmed or something. We can be like providing that bit of emotional support, or like what are some goals that you have? Is there somebody that we can connect you with? We do collaborate significantly with the school, so we work in that way to support the child. We also provide family activities. So Inspire isn't just about the children, but we also emphasize the need for family engagement because this is their school. So this week, for example, tomorrow, we're having a family engagement night. So the students are going to be cooking for their parents. We're going to have some activities. And this is a way for them to see like, hey, this is a program that your children are in. You can easily reach out to us. The school is accessible to you. And let's build this community because this is your school too. And who does this mentorship program serve? It serves the Inspire students that are actively in the program, as well as those who are identified by the school staff who may be like, hey, this individual might need some extra support, or maybe they have a friend in Inspire, right? But we just don't have the capacity, but they still kind of want to get some help. That's something we would do. Or if they self-refer as well. So that's a little bit about that mentorship program.
Okay, and then we just have this slide here about leadership in youth. So obviously youth who are engaged in leadership activities develop confidence and responsibility and other life skills that benefit them in the future. So that's kind of our main goal, is just kind of wanting to empower these youth that they can be leaders in, that they can see their potential and that they can become leaders and have a positive impact on their school community, their personal lives, and then, yeah, those types of things. We do lots of, they do come to the shelter in Morinville and they prepare meals for the clients there. We take them, they do participate in Adopt a Family, so community-wide, they're putting together like hampers for the families that need at Christmas time. So just kind of so they can see the impact that they can have in a positive way. Anything else you want to talk about there?
Yeah, for sure. So just like that emphasis on leadership. So as she mentioned, they come to the shelter and they actually cook for the clients, which is amazing. Because it not just builds that leadership skills, but it also brings awareness to like, how do I help my community and what resources are in my community? They also have participated in, for example, going to the University of Alberta. Many times we wait until we're in high school and all the decisions that were so important to take to get into university has passed. So why not build that inspiration and ambition now at a younger age? They also participate in like the Moose Hide Walk, and they actually present to the Morinville Public School, and they're able to facilitate a class and teach the little kids like, oh, this is what this event is, and public speaking. So they practice that public speaking as well. There's a lot of things that they're involved in, as well as we also have that cultural component. So we do take them to the Blue Quills University as well, where they're able to engage in culturally supported events. And as I don't know if some of you know, Blue Quills used to be a residential school. So it's possible for them to learn, and they use that as a way to learn more about their culture as well. So yeah, these are quite a bit of things that they're able to be involved in. we focus a lot on the emotional well-being and stuff. And in the next slide, we're going to talk about how it kind of aligns with the Alberta curriculum on different categories like safety and responsibility, health, well-being, and so forth. So hopefully we can open that slide up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try. Oh, no.
Okay.
That's okay. We'll just go past that one. We can talk briefly about
Yeah.
like the overview of the program.
For sure. So
Different lessons.
to give you an overview of like the programs and the lessons that we do teach in this course, in this class, for example, so we talk about relationship choices. Working from Jesse's house, we understand the importance of healthy relationships, right? So coping with change. We talk about coping with change. How do we identify a healthy relationship? How can we identify an unhealthy relationship? How do we foster these relationships, right? We also talk about peer pressure, the importance of peer pressure, the importance of having like a good community support as well. We talk about like emotions, like how do we identify our emotions? Not just knowing what it, but feeling the sensations in our body and identifying that these certain emotions, how they can impact us, and what are some coping strategies we can come with. So this is like relationships of an overview. We also talk about interactions. So how do you build that circle of trust? Who are the people in your community that you're able to trust with and connect with? We also have lessons on discovering our values, right? This is something that I think we can all benefit from, where they're able to discover their values and use that as a guideline to further life. We also practice a lot of acts of kindness. So this is why we're involved in a lot of activities where we give back to the community and we foster that for them. Also part of that, speaking of which, the kids also last year were able to participate in the Smile Cookie campaign. So a lot of them actually got some work experience at Tim Hortons, which is great. Because imagine a 13, 14-year-old to get that experience. Like, I wish I had that on my resume at that time.
They had so much fun.
Yeah. So safety and responsibility. We talk about boundaries. We also have the RCMP. We collaborate with RCMP. We collaborate with people in the community who come in and say, we're a safe person to come to. You know, they don't come in uniform, they come regular like us, and just to like foster that relationship and making the kids know that there's resources out there. We talk about the power and control wheel, right? So there's a lot of lessons that we talk about as well. And we do participate a lot in volunteering. So that's a huge thing, not just the leadership, but volunteering. And career and life goals. So that's something we do resume building, and we also do mock interviews. So we actually have people come in like who have hiring ability to do a mock interview, and it's amazing because they like dress up and they build their resume, and it's super exciting. And we've seen the change with many of the people, but like one significant change, and I know I'm here talking a lot, was, for example, we had a students who at the moment they said, what do you want for yourself? And they're like, I'm gonna work at McDonald's. That's all they've seen, right? And we're like, but as a career, that's it, right? Like that. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. Every job I believe is honorable. But then they come back and then this year they're like, this is what I want to be. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a hairstylist. I'm like, wow, like you just opened their mindset to something new, to look beyond what they thought was their reality. So that's part of some of what Inspire does. We do a lot more, but we'll be here for like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, and so one of the biggest questions we get obviously is who gets to participate? Because there's literally just Genesis and I that are facilitating this program. Currently, we're trying to grow and expand, which we're in the process of right now. So, and we are only at Four Winds. We've had asks from other school divisions as well, but we just aren't quite there yet. So this part of it, who gets to participate, we just have the 2 classes out of Four Winds, and we leave that up to the school staff to decide who gets to participate. They know their students the best. And yeah, so I'll let Gidget talk a little bit about that.
So this year we have a school counselor, and she's been tasked with being the lead and the liaison with between Four Winds and Inspire. And it was really tough, like being able to narrow down 18 students, 18 girls and 18 boys in order to be able to benefit from this program. And I think we had originally a list of over 35
Yeah.
per
lengthy list.
gender. And so
Yeah.
the teachers were originally asked, and they were asked first if they felt like they had a student in their classroom who would benefit from this program that focused on becoming a leader in various different ways. This program that fosters and a healthy relationships and is another group that they can form new bonds and positive relationships. And students were often kids that didn't necessarily think they had leadership qualities in them. And I'm actually speaking currently on behalf of this school counselor who wasn't able to come in today, Tanya Crump. And so I'm reading off her notes, if you don't mind. And then teachers put these names forward that they felt made great candidates. Tanya then was able to look at some of the scheduling conflicts that happened because we have some special programs at Four Winds, like Sports for Life or Performing Arts, and we have STEAM, and it would create too much of a conflict for them to be in both just because of sometimes the Inspire program is out in community or serving other groups or on field trips. So we did have to narrow that down and then chat with the students that left to ensure they understood what the program was, that they couldn't, it was a conflict and they couldn't be in both, unfortunately. And once they knew this, Tanya was able to give those students time to decide the program and go home and discuss it with their families as well. And sometimes they had to pitch the program to their parents who didn't exactly know what the program was and who was maybe hesitant with what you're leaving STEAM and what's the impact of this program later. And that's why we really need that engagement from the families. And then once they hear what the program is, and then the opportunities provided by Inspire, and a lot of them are just like, yes, absolutely. Can you take more of my kids and what age level? And yeah, it's usually a big hit.
Yeah, and we've had consistently something that we noticed with the program in the previous years as well as so far this year. It's only been about a month or so, but is that everybody is showing up every day, which is amazing. Like we've literally had basically 18 kids show up every single day to the program, whereas in some of them we had heard that, you know, maybe attendance or they weren't loving their options. So they're showing up for Inspire, which is amazing. So okay. So, and then the other part of it is just part of Inspire is the public education piece. So our goal is basically to raise awareness by providing the education sessions and presentations on the components of healthy relationships. Obviously, working with the Jessica Martel Memorial Foundation, that's always our underlying goal. Promote mental and emotional well-being by highlighting the connection between healthy relationships and overall well-being, and then build community resilience by encouraging the individuals and organizations to work together in promoting healthy relationships and addressing violence prevention. So that's kind of the scope of that. And then here we just got an amazing testimony from one of our parents who his daughter has been in the program for a while now. So I can't read that from here. Let me just go to that slide and then I can. Yeah, so this is just what he had to say. So the Inspire program is an incredible initiative that helps young students, both girls and boys, come out of their shells, build leadership skills, and gain a strong sense of empowerment. They learn how to establish healthy foundations in relationships, develop self-awareness and confidence, and focus on both mental and physical well-being. The program also addresses the daily challenges youth face, such as bullying, racism, and social pressures, equipping them to navigate these issues. As an Indigenous parent of 2 daughters who attend this program, I am extremely proud and confident in the diverse teachings that the Inspire program consistently provides. My daughters participate in various Indigenous cultural teachings and practices that nurture their minds and spirits. What's even more special is that these ceremonies and traditional practices are open to everyone, including non-Indigenous parents and participants. Our belief is that our ceremonies are a safe space for anyone wanting to participate. It brings me great joy to witness such openness and acceptance of our culture. So that was from Nolan Arcand. So his daughters are in the program. Okay, I'll let you talk on that.
Okay, so as we mentioned, we did get a grant from the government of Alberta, which is great. And part of that grant is actually a research component, which we do have some researchers who are helping us with evaluating the program and just proving that it works, right? So we want that evidence-based service. We hope to be able to create throughout this program a manual in order to have this sustainable and to be able to share it with other communities in rural Alberta. So that's a little bit more about that. And yeah, we're just working on that, and it's going to include like both qualitative and quantitative approaches. We're hoping to, by the end of the year, have something fully done. Not this year, next year. Have something fully done, and yeah, that's part of it. And we're hoping that can help us also to be able to sustain this program long term and for other schools as well.
Oh, and then we just have some pictures. These are from our program last year. So the first one is them volunteering at the shelter. They came to prepare lunch. And then the second one's at Adopt a Family. They were there to prepare hampers and wrap gifts for the community. And then there they are at Smile a Cookie. Yeah, just getting a little bit of work experience. So we just wanted to share those photos with you. And that is everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Questions, anybody? I would like to say thank you to the four of you for coming presenting today. It's amazing to see these sorts of programs in our communities. Thank you to Savannah for thinking that we should grow our village. Very important, and has been a goal of the board since we came in 3 years ago. So thank you for that. Does anybody else have anything? Trustee Pequin?
Shane Pequin, Ward 1. I don't have a question, just amazing work you guys are all doing, and it's so great for our kids. And you know, if you need some more schools to expand in, we got your back. We will help you to expand this program, because it's just, I'm super grateful that Four Winds kids get this, and super jealous that not all of our kids get this. Good job.
Superintendent Warren?
I just want to reiterate what's been said, but I want to say thank you. And I also want to say, to the board, this is a prime example of, we have longstanding parents who they fought hard for public education, and they're very connected to our schools. And it just goes to show, when we have parents who care and are connected, and when they connect very deeply with our team, then they also want to help all our students. And this is the result of that, because it's gone through some changes in leadership of how it started. And it's just so fantastic. So I want to say thank you. And it takes a village to raise a child. And so the language that you heard even from our Inspire group, it's the same language when we talk about our social emotional well-being of our children. And so I just want to say a huge thank you, because it's wonderful that the program has flourished the way it has. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to us. Sincerely appreciate it. We'll just maybe take a minute and let everybody shift. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you.
No, it's students are chosen by admin. From by the teacher. We're still.
Yes, we are still live. Are we okay to proceed without John? Okay.
He's just giving.
All right, we are going to move on now to action items. 7.1 Capital Reserve Approval Welding Shop. Superintendent Warren?
Thank you, Chair. I will turn it over to the Associate Superintendent, Corporate Services.
Thank you, Superintendent. Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent, Corporate Services. So just attached here, you'll see a request to move some dollars over from our capital reserve to support the welding shop at Sturgeon Composite High School. The school previously bought 10 welding bays. Those welding bays need to be installed properly for health and safety reasons. The division has gotten a $50,000 dual credit grant to support some of this project, but there is a shortfall of about $100,000. The information is attached here on the rationale and kind of the overview of the project, and I'll leave it if there are any questions.
Trustee Buga?
J.C. Buga, Ward 5. Just for clarification, does this open up any additional spaces, or is this to maintain programming at its current levels?
Right now, our Director of Facilities is online as well too to answer questions, but currently, as I'm aware, the bays are set up and currently being used, but not to their full potential. There are also sightline issues and things like that with where they currently are. So I do believe this would open them up to be fully used appropriately and properly. So it would kind of open up programming a little bit, my understanding.
Trustee Pequin?
Trustee Pequin, Ward 1. So we've always had a welding program, and now we've partnership with Nate for the dual credit grants. But if that were to go away, we would still continue to have a welding program. So it's not like this is contingent on those dual credit kids, right? We still would continue to maintain our welding program.
Superintendent Warren?
Yes, correct.
I have a question. And so I was a bit surprised when this came across because I hadn't heard much about the welding shop at Sturgeon Comp, but this is a fairly hefty renovation. How did it come about that we knew about this? Like, what happened that has prompting this?
We had a little bit of an audit of the facility for insurance and for other purposes. As going through, we identified this issue. I don't know why when we purchased the bays, there was not a plan in place to kind of deal with this. And generally, if the school purchased it, I would expect them to kind of cover this. But this is just one thing we're looking to kind of clean up and make sure we have. The students are kind of using it, so we want to just make sure it's safe and healthy for them. So that's why it's kind of become a priority and pushed up, as well as the cost came in a little bit higher than was expected. So that has kind of put some financial strain on the school.
Any other discussion? Can I ask for the motion then? Trustee Gibbons?
I would like to motion that the Board of Trustees approve the use of $100,000 from capital reserve to cover the remaining amount of the renovations of the welding shop at Sturgeon Composite High School to support student health and safety as presented at the October 23rd, 2024 public board meeting. And I would like to speak in favor of this motion. I think it's important, and it's in our legislation and our policies that we need to create a safe and environment. And if we're putting our students in a location that's not safe, we need to bring it up to safety standards.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Trustee Buga?
Trustee Buga, Ward 5. I would also speak in favor of the motion. Welding is a big part of our school division. We've got some really great things coming out of that program, and I would hate to see it compromised in any way, specifically around safety, of course. But taking out of capital reserves, it's funding that cannot go in many other pots, and I think this is effective use of our dollars. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other hands, the motion on the table is that the Board of Trustees approve the use of $100,000 from capital reserves to cover the remaining amount for the renovations of the welding shop at Sturgeon Composite High School to support student health and safety as presented at the October 23rd, 2024 public board meeting. All in favor? Cindy, Trustee Briggs, if you are wanting to vote, I need to see your face. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Seven point two, capital Camilla storage facility approval. Sorry. Trust or Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will again turn it over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Superintendent. Again, Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services. Just as a reminder, this item has brought forward previously. At the June 19th, 2024 public board meeting, it was approved that $135,000 would be used on this project. And this project was also brought up previously at the February 23rd, 2022 meeting. So just in conjunction with that, we have brought forward some options and a recommendation for option 2, which is in the kind of middle ground. There was some discussion previously about approving $135,000, but wanting to come in a little bit less than that. So we've brought forward some recommendations. We brought forward a recommendation with 3 options that we would just like to get approval for before we continue with the project.
Discussion. Anybody have any thoughts, comments? Trustee Murray Elliott.
Trish Marie Elliott, Ward 4. Just a quick question. Are the structures in option 2 and 3 similarly sized?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Sean.
Thank you, Board Chair. I will pass it over to our Director of Facilities, Stephen Holcomb.
Good morning, Steve Holcomb, Director of Facilities. Yes, both structures are the same size, 20 by 30 feet.
I have a question. Does the structure need heating and electrical? Like I see the options are anything from gravel pad nothing to concrete pad everything. Like what is the actual need of the school for utilities?
I will pass it over to our Director of Facilities.
So speaking with the principal, we need to keep it above 0. There's also some equipment that's in a storage room that is for snow removal that's in the woodwork shop that needs to be removed. And we can't keep that in below 0 either so that it can start up. The only difference, so the middle ground was just less electrical, less heating, alarms, second garage door. So it's just less of a package. The building structure is the same. And some of the siding and applications are a little bit cheaper in the mid-grade, but I think it's certainly suitable for what we need, talking with the principal at the school.
Trustee Pequin.
I don't know that I support the no alarm, just because in today's day and age, everything is getting broken into everywhere. So I don't know what the cost to get the alarm in there is, but that's concerning for me.
Trustee Murray Elliott.
Well, I agree. And further to that, I'm wondering if our facilities team can perhaps provide some of the upgrades that would be beneficial, such as the alarm, maybe some interior painting, if we need a little bit more asphalt or pads at the doors, whatever. So I think it's great if we can save some money, but if we can use our in-house to provide some of the nicer upgrades, that would be awesome too.
Trustee Dwyer.
Yes, I agree, but I do believe that there's cameras on the building that are seeing these sheds. So there is some security there. It just wouldn't be an alarming type situation when they're right there. And it has been broken, not that this there has been a shed there broken into this year already, so. Anyways, yes, I agree. I'm for the motion that's recommended here.
Trustee Buga?
Trustee Buga, Ward 5. Just for comparison's sake, are we looking at ongoing maintenance going to be higher for the cheaper option? Or I know generally speaking, there's not a lot of maintenance on a shed. But just in case, you know, going cheaper now may be more expensive later. Is there any forethought there?
Yes, Sean.
I'll pass it over to our director again, just to answer that question.
No, there's no worry about the cost of the maintenance. The units that we're putting in there, it's less maintenance for us for that building. It's totally, absolutely suitable for sustainability and efficiency.
Okay, I also have a question for you. You said that it needs to be kept above 0, but the recommended option 2, how are you intending to heat it?
This would be like a regular garage unit heater suspended from the ceiling. For gas.
Okay.
Just
Was that indicated? Oh, yes, Sean, sorry.
Just a point of clarification. I believe in option 3 by heating, they actually mean like a boiler and a whole heating system. In option 2, it would just be overhead heaters. Just to clarify that.
Any further discussion? Okay, can I ask for the motion, please?
I'll motion.
As Trustee Dwyer?
Oops, sorry. Trustee Dwyer, Ward 3, that the Board of Trustees approve option number 2 of the facilities Camilla storage options requesting use of $85,000 from capital reserves to cover the amount of the basic garage package option 2 as presented at the October 23rd, 2024 public board meeting.
Would you like to speak for or against?
I speak for it. I think
Okay.
it's well needed, and we actually borrowed stuff and just sheds which have to be returned, so it's a needed, and I support it.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak to or against? All right, I'm going to call the question that the Board of Trustees approve motion number 2 of the facilities Camilla storage options, requesting the use of $85,000 from capital reserves to cover the amount of the basic garage package option 2 as presented at the October 23rd, 2024 public board meeting. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Oh, Cindy, yes. Thank you. All right, and now we will go to 7.3, Gibbons School Landing Trail School Solution. Superintendent Warren?
Thank you, Chair. So just a reminder, the board each year approves the 3-year capital plan, and the Gibbons School Landing Trail School Solution is the board's current number 1 priority. And so in following that, the process, to make sure that we are following all of the requirements to look at that number 1 priority, this does require a board motion, and we would like to initiate the engagement of our stakeholders. And with that, we need the announcement because this is actually a solution. So it is the proposed closure of Gibbons School and Landing Trail, and that it amalgamates into 1 school, a K-9, on a new site, and that we would like to engage so that we can do this, so that we can start the stakeholder engagement. And I'm not sure if the Associate Superintendent, do you want to add anything else? No? Okay.
Okay, discussion. Trustee Buga?
Stacey Buga, Ward 5. Just to clarify, because the word school closure is a scary thing. So just to reiterate what the plan is, we're looking at beginning our engagement with the community. But just to clarify what happens if we are not approved for funding and what those next steps are. And just to reassure our community what happens if we do not hear an announcement from the province about a new school while we have already implemented or begun the process of school closure. Would we be able to get a quick clarification on that process? Thank you.
Superintendent Warren?
Thank you, Vice Chair. It's a great question. So again, this is to start the process because we want to make sure that we have everything in place so that if by chance Alberta Education was to announce that the board is successful with their number one capital plan choice, that we are ready to go. This is a beginning. As for when something happens, we have no idea. Could take years, we don't know. And so this is just to begin that process. As for the closure of the school, if you read through the capital plan, just also to remind our stakeholders that to close the schools because their town actually would like this land for residential, and it's actually a land swap that we're actually looking at a brand new site. The history of these schools, they have been around for a very long time. They both started as K-9s. One was for our rural kids, one was for town kids. The schools have gone through a lot, and they are, as you know, across many of our schools, very aging infrastructures. So the solution is actually putting two schools down into one, and right sizing too also for the schools. But again, this is to start the process. This is just so the board is following legislative requirements and policy to ensure that if there was ever a positive announcement, that you would be ready to go.
Trustee Pequin?
So if there's no announcement, we are not closing these schools. They will stay up and running indefinitely until there is a new build.
Correct.
Trustee Murray Elliott?
And I just want to ensure that this doesn't tie our hands too tightly because, as you say, this could take many, many years. And perhaps between now and that time, we might want to change how we look at multiple schools within the area. I don't want to even specify what that might look like, but because this could possibly happen in the future, I hope that there's room for us to tweak our plans and that this doesn't tie us too tightly.
Superintendent Warren?
Again, this is just to say that you actually approve this process. It's not decisions being made, anything. This is literally just so that we can actually begin the process.
Trustee Gibbons?
I think Sean wants
Oh,
something.
sorry. One moment, Trustee Gibbons. Yes.
Just to maybe clarify, it's to inform and collect information, would be to start this process. So the first community engagement would be to inform with all the information we have to make sure the community knows, and then to potentially collect information back about concerns they have as well.
Trustee Gibbons?
I was just going to say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, just to put my fellow trustees at ease, that come spring when we're reviewing the capital plan, we're presented with the information about all of the schools within our division. And at that time, should we choose to change what our number one, number two priorities are for our capital plan, that we are still able to do that, even though we begin this engagement process. Is that correct?
Speak.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. At any time, the trustees can change the capital plan. There is value in when we're presenting to the government that we're not changing every year to year, because it just shows a lack of almost commitment and consistency. So there is value in doing that, but we can also have a 1, 2, and 3 if we want. And we will have to look at our 10-year plan as well too. So those are all considerations.
Any other comments, questions? All right, I'm seeking a motion now. Trustee Buga?
Stacey Bugle, Ward 5. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the process required to initiate the proposed closure of Gibbons School and Landing Trails School for the amalgamation of both schools into one new K-9 school on a new school site, and direct the superintendent to start the notification process as per Board Policy 600.
Would anybody like to speak to the motion at this time? Trustee Buga?
I'm actually really excited about this. This is our number one priority, and I think we've put in a lot of work with the town of Gibbons and with some really unique processes and trying really hard to think outside the box to get a new school for our students that's greatly needed. So I'm really excited to be able to be ready that if our provincial government, you know, says our name on that announcement, we can all give a cheer and be ready to roll as quickly as possible. So thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? I second what Trustee Buga said. I speak in motion of in favor of this motion because Gibbons School is about to be old enough to collect a pension, and it certainly does need attention. It's been on our capital plan over and over and over again since I sat on this board, and I'm hopeful that we've created a thought out, an out of the box solution, and that it will catch the eye of our government. So if there's nobody else wanting to speak, I'm going to call the question that the Board of Trustees approves the process required to initiate the proposed closure of Gibbons School and Landing Trail School for the amalgamation of both schools into one new K-9 school on a new school site, and direct the superintendent to start the notification process as per Board Policy 600. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And we are now moving on to Section 8, Administrative Reports, 8.1, the 2023-2024 School Council Year in Review Reports. Who would like to start? Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I am going to turn this over to the deputy. The board receives these reports every year at this time as per AP 211.
Thank you, John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. For information is a summary of the activities of our school councils. And I'm happy that for the first time in a few years, all schools that had councils last year submitted a report. You can see that we do provide them a template should they choose to use it, but some have their own way of expressing the actions that they did. And I'm sure it's been informative and will be so at the first Council of School Councils tonight, if you're wondering what any of those groups have recorded about their activities. Prepared to take any questions.
Not a question, a comment. I did read through all of these. They are very interesting. Some schools put a lot of detail in, some schools don't, but it's nice to see the amazing things that happen and are initiated out of our school councils. So I'm sincerely appreciative for the reports. Thank you. Anybody else? Trustee Buga?
I'll echo that. Just that school councils, I think we've all been really diligent about reminding them how important their role is in public education and bringing parent voice into our schools. I think that that's great. And I know that it's a lot of work for them to submit these reports every year, but I think it's great. And especially when I see things like request for funds for water foam thingy, I think that that's fantastic that it's getting in there. However, it comes to us as doesn't need to be formal, but just so that we know that the work that they're doing. So I very much appreciate it.
Any further? Trustee Gibbons?
I have to apologize because I didn't research this answer myself and I should have, so I'm just going to ask it. Is it a template that they get? Because I noticed that there was that financial piece which school counselors are not responsible for because it's fundraising. If it's a package that we give them, is it possible to just remove that so that we don't have any confusion?
Deputy?
Thank you, John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. While fundraising in school, responsibility of parent association, certainly anything to do that would be under the abbreviation escapes me, but the gaming license, councils can actually manage some of their own money. And that's actually why this is here. If they had any of school council funds, not necessarily, like, this is not, and that's why it's highlighted in yellow in the template that says, this is not your parent fundraising association funds, but this is if you as a council have money, you're required to report what money you have and what you've done with it. So.
Any further questions, comments? Trustee Gibbons?
I just want to say thank you for the clarification.
All right, seeing no further discussion, let's move to 8.2, Indigenous funding within Sturgeon Public Schools report. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will be turning this over to the team. We'll start with the deputy. So this is report number 2. This was a request from the board. So you had the full Indigenous report, which is a previous board meeting, which is also an attachment here for your reference. And so this is board requested to ask the breakdown of the funds across our schools.
Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair. John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. Following up on the comments our superintendent just made, the plan that the Indigenous coordinator and the Director of Education Planning brought forward to you last month was to share, this is how we are ensuring success for Indigenous students and for advancing truth, looking at engaging in reconciliation, but how do we do the plan? And how we do the plan is a lot is how we fund it and how we support it. As you have requested, there was a change in the model of how we supported it. And that change represents some funding to straight central control, and the majority of the funding going to schools, as outlined here in this report, by student population. So a school that has more students that have Indigenous students receive more of that funding than students that have less Indigenous students. I would suggest the first part is quite clear in the direction. You've met some of these people. Others we're still back into a recruitment phase, but their actions are outlined here. Their direction, their coordination, their responsibilities are presented to you to consider. There are a few larger division projects, things like call to action cohort, all of the professional learning for that cohort, even though those are teachers in schools, they're learning their materials, the support for when they're out of schools, that also comes out of central. You may have been a part of the larger event that we had at Sturgeon Composite High School. We intend to have that, and there's a few other broader initiatives. For the parts in schools, the evidence and activities and items here are garnered from school reports that have been brought to you, school presentations. They've been pulled from other conversations that have been had with administration. What are the things you're doing in schools? And I would just bring forward to the board to consider it when you're looking at all of these activities that our schools are required to, but also are absolutely passionate and engaged in better understanding of clear truth and Indigenous experiencing, seeking relationship building, community building, seeking acts of reconciliation, and creating experiences in our classroom, experiences in our schools, staff that understand more of how to bring in Indigenous ways of knowing, outdoor land-based learning. Our schools, you have heard it from our principals in their school presentations, I would hope, and these activities just capture some of what they have done last year. And it remains the school's responsibility to support the drumming group that comes, that honors the elders that comes, that those financial obligations, I don't want to say like an obligation, but the finances behind those things are borne at the school level. So, prepared to take more questions about the detailing here in the report. I may ask some support from my colleague, the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services, if it's more of a financial question, but prepared to take questions.
Anybody have any questions? Trustee Buga.
Stacy Bugo, Ward 5. Thank you. I think this report is quite in depth. It really calls out what we have done as well as what we hope to do, which is important. Just out of curiosity, I believe today is I don't know what it's called. All the kids are outside all day or most of the day. It's like the be outside day. Is that working in some like land-based learning and Indigenous knowledge into that? I know that it's not a focus on Indigenous learning, but I think it's really important that all of our events like this probably have some, cultural, cross-cultural aspects kind of woven into their day. But I think it's great whether, no matter how we're getting kids outside, I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
Deputy Superintendent.
It was not coordinated by, the Leadership for Indigenous Student Success. But I would say it was supported and activities were shared with schools and teachers, actually by our educational technology lead teacher, who is very well connected to this group. That they report to the Director of Education Planning, and I know of the activities suggested aligned with Indigenous, but I don't want to overpromise that because it wasn't coordinated by the Indigenous groups. A good reminder to seek better integration next year.
Oh, yes, please.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think there's a lot that goes on in our schools that doesn't make it to this report because it's not necessarily coming from specifically FMNMI funding, but it is part of our school culture. And I really believe that it's woven into a lot of things that we do. So I just wanted to clarify that, yeah, I think we do some really great things that maybe don't make it to this report all the time on top of this great stuff. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Trustee Pequin?
I'm trying to find it. So FMNI funding from the government. What's the parameters for that? Like, can it be used for whatever we want? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's got to be, and I know I have it somewhere in here and I just can't find it. So I'm just trying to make it clear. I did find it.
It's the attachment because it's last month's. I put it. It's the attachment. It's just been.
Super. Yeah. Sorry, Associate Superintendent Corporate Services.
Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent Corporate Services. Thank you, Board Chair. Under our funding criteria, the only thing that we have to account for is targeted funding. So specifically things that have been targeted, things like nutrition, even SLS funding, Indigenous funding aren't targeted. They're giving us at our discretion to use. So something like nutrition, if we didn't want to spend it on nutrition, we wouldn't have to. The only areas that there are some limitations around are, besides certain targeted fundings, are transportation, can't be spent on anything else, as well as we can't move money into system admin. So that's kind of our criteria. Things that fall into instruction envelope, there's a level of discretion with them unless they're targeted.
All right. Seeing no further questions, we will move to September 27th enrollment and student growth 8.3. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will turn this over to the Associate Superintendent Corporate Services. So at this time every year, after we have submitted our final numbers through FES, the funding event system, then we bring those final numbers to the board as information.
Thank you, Superintendent. Again, Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent Corporate Services. As you can see in the attached report and the two attached tables, we have broken down by school our current year enrollment compared to last year, as well as compared to budget. So what we forecasted for this coming year. The first table there shows that compared to last year, we are up 0.5%. The comp has experienced an increase of about 88 students. So that was where our largest increase is. When we compared to our forecasted numbers, we are slightly down by 0.88%. And that is mainly in our ECS area where we're under by 74 students. So just the new students coming into our system were a little bit lower. Just from the data we have, that looks like because birth rates are down. So that's the report, unless there are any questions.
Questions? Trustee Pequin?
Is there a big financial implication for over projecting our numbers, right? Because the weighting moving average is based on actuals and projections. So we weren't far off 0.88%, but is that going to have financial implications in future budgets?
Sean?
So yes, it would, in our current budget, it would have an implication. So with the new funding model, it's best to be as accurate as possible, because if you're too low, you're technically not getting the money. If you're too high, you are. So the way it works, and it's changed over since they implemented the weighted moving average, we do not get the money, or they do not take away the money for the fact that we're under right now, but they make us record it. So they make us record that we owe them the difference of the 0.88% back at the end of the year. And then in terms of the actual cash, they take it back next year off of our funding. So that's kind of how it works. And I'm just going to correct myself, but in terms of the weighted moving average, we will see a change just because the weighted moving average is over 3 years. So we see 50%, 30%, 20%. So you'll see an effect that way, but yeah.
Trustee Dwyer?
Trustee Dwyer, Ward 3. Just a couple thoughts to me is our learning center growing by 21. Is there some thoughts behind that, or is that just, it seems like a large number growth? And the other one was Morinville Public School, or was it Morinville Public School, 80 kids difference. Those were the two I was thinking about. Is there something behind that, or
Associate,
is it just the way it is?
who would like to answer this one? Superintendent Warren?
Yes, the Morinville Public one, because we looked into the Barriger data and our Barriger data. We don't have the information for this year, but the birth rates, the kids that are actually school aged for Morinville for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, it's a huge drop. We've seen it. We have a very small cohort number of actually viable age children this year. So that's why the drop, and that's what we always do. We do look because we are curious. So Morinville Public is specifically, was no babies born or it dropped a lot in those 2 years. So that's why it dropped off. And it is on the back upward swing. That does not capture migration. That's just birth rate. So just want to clarify that. As for our learning center growing by 21 students, I'm not sure if Mr. Conrad, if you want to add to that, just in our learning centers. Learning centers are, I don't know, it's alternate learning. And so sometimes our numbers change. And again, we have concurrent enrollments, but I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Conrad.
Thank you, John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. I haven't specifically worked with the administration about these 21. The rationale for that is these numbers are still even lower than they were pre-COVID. So this is within the realm of what we've served between those two centers. So I'm certainly willing to get more into it, but at this point, it's not an alarming number for us.
Trustee Dwyer?
Thank you. And we don't have to get into it more. It's just, those are just a couple numbers I was kind of curious about and showed quite a difference.
Anybody else? Trustee Buga?
Stacy Buga, Ward 5. I'm just looking at our high school numbers, and right now we're seeing a bit of a low blip kind of at our grade 11s, but there's going to be a lot more kids coming up the ranks. I'm seeing a lot closer to the 400 mark than the 300 mark. Can you remind me what the capacity of our high schools are? And just that what the plan is once we get, a few years of 400s up there? Thanks.
Superintendent Warren.
Sorry, you said capacity of our schools, but are you just
High
looking
schools.
right, but are you just talking about Sturgeon Comp for their numbers? Because the capacity of Sturgeon Comp is 1,200. This is why for the school right now, again, our mandate is that we educate our resident students. And so right now, there are non-residents in this school. We have kids coming from North Edmonton, and again, that's not the mandate. And so if our resident school numbers go up, that's why every year it's very important that we are communicating with our non-resident families to let them know that there may not be room and resources as per the Education Act in the school heading into the next year. So there is some room there because there are non-resident, but Sturgeon Comp's capacity is 1,200. I'd have to specifically look up for Redwater what the capacity is for the school. I'd have to go look it up if you're wondering what.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the ECS numbers might be low this year, but those are babies born in 2019-ish. We all know 2020 brought baby booms, so numbers might be low today, but I suspect they're going to go up. All right, if there's no further questions, we will move to 8.4, Transportation Services Report 2024-2025. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to turn this over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services, and I believe, our Manager of Transportation Services is going to be coming in person, so she's going to come down, but I will turn it over to our Associate of Corporate Services, and then we will turn it over to our manager.
That's my fault. I forgot to, because I was giving my other report, forgot to ask her to come down. So we'll just need a minute. You will see in the report here that, sorry, just let me over. It's in a little bit of the format, just so as an overview. We've kind of hit 4 areas: transportation funding, ridership information, transportation fee collections, and just some transportation challenges. The manager of transportation will go through each section, kind of giving a little bit of a highlight and a summary. There are 3 tables attached, just kind of breaking down ridership information, as well as just some other ways we looked just at ride times and capacities, just to kind of, and with some explanation, just to kind of show you guys that we are keeping an eye on it and trying to explain what's going on there. But yeah, Michelle, if you don't mind, well, if we could just take a minute, maybe.
Would you like me to move down to 8.5, the human resources? Oh, okay, we're good.
So I will pass it over to our manager of transportation, Amy Colzer. And Amy, I already apologized. I told him it was my fault.
Good morning, everyone. So I have been invited to review the transportation service report that was provided. I want to just kind of go through the highlights of the report and give a brief overview of the information that was included. So I want to start with just a little bit of background regarding transportation services. So we currently have 75 school buses, which transport over 3,000 students every day. We travel approximately 10,235 kilometers every single day with our school buses. So specific to the 24-25 school year startup, we had a very well organized startup this year. It went really well. The one thing that we did note that was kind of a change for this year is that we did have one route that was not able to start for the first day of school. And this was mostly due to the bus driver shortages that we're seeing throughout the province. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit later in the report as well. We had transportation meetings that we held through all of our school communities as well to support the start of the school year. And it gets everybody in the same room to discuss how things are going. So it has myself as transportation staff. Bus operators and contractors are both invited, as well as our school administration. So it's a really good opportunity. It's very invaluable to have those for the start of the school year, just to discuss anything that's kind of lingering from school startup. We've broke the report down into 4 sections. So we have transportation funding, ridership information, transportation fee collection, and transportation challenges. So the first section we were focused on was the transportation funding. The first part of that is the transportation funding application. So we complete the report to provide to the government, and it is the primary source of funding for transportation services. We submit this by the end of November and typically receive the information of the approval between January and February each year. The funding eligibility distance has changed recently. So we're currently at ECS to grade 6 is a 1 kilometer eligibility distance, and grade 7 to 12 is 2 kilometers. This is currently an optional requirement, but will be mandatory as of September of 2025. We have implemented this eligibility criteria both last year and this year as well, as we were mostly transporting those students anyway, so now we're able to claim the funding. The second part of transportation funding is our school bus driver grants. So this was introduced in April of 2023, and it includes 2 initiatives. The first one is the training costs and driver reimbursement grant, and the second portion is the driver competency training grant. In the 23-24 school year, we were able to submit a total of $110,000. And in the 24-25 school year so far, we've already submitted for $24,000. Transportation Services facilitates this in partnership with the contractors. We submit it on their behalf, and then when the funding is received, we transfer it back to our contractors. The next portion of the report is in regards to the 24-25 ridership information. So we have seen an increase in ridership in the current school year of approximately 49 students, which is about a 1.63% increase that we've seen since last school year. To support the capacity, we were able to add a route for the Namao and Sturgeon Comp schools, mostly supporting the town of Morinville students that we saw an increase in. And we also had a decrease or another increase for Legal Public School, where we saw a need for transportation services. And we had a decrease of 1 route for the Camilla attendance area. We included a transportation ridership overview chart as well. You can see here it outlines the type of riders that we are seeing on our buses, with 82% being eligible, 4% outside boundary riders, 9% choice riders, 4% ineligible riders, and 1% of special education riders. We also outlined our transportation fee collection. So far, as of October, the beginning of October, when this report was made, we had collected 86% of transportation fees for this school year. That results in about 338 overdue accounts, which totals $58,170 outstanding still. In comparison to last year, we were at about 404 accounts outstanding at this point in time. So we are seeing a little bit more progression this year versus last year. Typically, we do go to service suspensions in November. Our parents did experience that process last year, and this is only implemented for students that we have not heard from. We're not getting any communication or any commitment of payment or basically any communication at all from these families. We have many families that reach out and will make alternate transportation fee payments. Those students are not listed for service suspension. So we do have that coming up. We typically do see a large reduction in the overdue accounts when we put out the notice of service suspension, which greatly reduces the amount of students that actually do have the service suspension active in November. I also included a transportation fee collection chart for your reference. It just outlines the difference of the paid transportation fees versus what's due at any given time since the start of the school year. The next section of the report is in regards to the transportation challenges that we're currently facing. The first section is in regards to the bus operator shortages, which I touched on briefly before. In relation to the contractors that we have currently, the most common issue that we're still hearing is that there's no spare bus operators available. So it makes it more difficult to accommodate our regular bus operators, and especially when they have absences that they need to cover, it becomes a strain there. And an additional concern that we've seen is that some contractors have been unable to apply for new transportation routes because they don't have a full-time commitment from a bus operator. So that has also come to light over the last couple of years. Our contractors deal with employment specifically. We don't see that kind of data, but with the implementation of the training cost and driver reimbursement grant, we have seen that there is the financial support to help our contractors to hopefully get some more bus operators and spare bus operators moving forward. The second challenge that we outlined is in regards to ride times. So we broke it into two different challenges that we're typically receiving. The first one is in regards to a change of the route during the school registration. So this is typically a concern that's brought forward regarding a change of a transportation route from one year to the next. So it's more about managing the expectations from year to year. This is typically for additions or deletions of students when we need to rearrange routes, things like that. The second concern that we see is in regards to the overall ride time. So this is typically the parents we're hearing from are the first students on and the last students off. So they're the students who are riding the longest each day, and there's typically not an easy solution. So we have those challenges coming back year to year. We also just noted in the report in regards to choice riders, we are seeing additional student capacity and an increase in ride times due to those additional choice riders that we are accepting onto our buses as well. So we did provide 3 attachments that are related to this concern, and I'll go through those attachments here in the report. So the first one is an overview of all of the transportation routes that we have currently. The column indicated for change in ride time. The greens are indicating any routes that we had a decrease of ride time from last year. Anything highlighted in red is an increase in ride time from last year. Overall, we saw a total reduction of 248 minutes between all of our routes. The second attachment that we had was in regards to any ride times that are over 75 minutes. So you can see there's 7 routes that are outlined here, along with some additional notes as to the explanation behind the increased ride times for those specifically. Without getting into the note section, distance from the school is the main factor that's having these ride times be increased and over 75 minutes. Attachment number 3 is in regards to buses that are showing a capacity of greater than 60 students. So there are 7 routes that currently show the capacity over 60. 6 out of 7 of these are double runs. So we have students getting off at one school before they're picking up students for a second school. So typically not all of these students will be on the bus at the same time. So you can see we have up to 95 students that are registered to one bus, but we do not have 95 students actually on the bus. So we do have we've created some capacity guidelines as well. So when we are nearing the 60 or or more mark, we do have a process to go over with our contractors. And we always consider the bus capacity is how much we're legally allowed to have on our buses, but we have to consider the safety aspect too. Lots of times consideration of the size of the students, the age of the students, things like that. So that's where we bring in the expertise of our contractors and bus operators to inform us if our buses are at a safe capacity. The next section in the transportation report is in relation to transportation fees. So as previously noted a little bit, collection is one of the challenges that we are currently facing. So we do have conversations with parents often about making sure that their transportation fees are paid and all of the various ways that they can do that. We've also implemented better communication of the family maximum as another support to our families. And the second piece of transportation fees is the understanding and acceptance of the fee structure. So understanding and educating our parents that the fee structure is based on the eligibility distances that are set by the government. It is not us who are putting forward the distances is one of the big conversations that we have. Another area of conversation this year in particular is related to the supplemental bus fees. So this is a fee that is assessed for families who have requested a full-time bus route from 2 separate locations. So an example of this is that some days they're going to and from daycare and some days they're going to and from home. A supplemental bus fee would be implemented. Or in the case of separated families, we have 1 week with mom's house, 1 week with dad's house. That's when those supplemental bus fees are assessed. They have full access to either route at both times. The last challenge that we noted is in regards to student misconduct. So continuing to manage student behavior on our bus routes has come up again already this year. We always are looking for a team approach to this because it's absolutely involves our bus operators and contractors, our schools, as well as transportation service. So it does take lots of time to work on managing those student behaviors. And that is it for the transportation service report. Is there any questions?
Trustee Dwyer?
Yeah, thank you for that report. And I do get a lot of calls on C5, but anyways, how much is our bus contractor or drivers responsible for behavior on the bus? Like, where do we see it ending and going?
For sure. So the typical process is that we give the students a couple of chances on the bus to interact directly with the bus operator. It's more in regards to the escalation process. So when the bus operator is looking for additional help, they submit what's called a student misconduct report. It's an online form that indicates the student information, the nature of what happened, those kinds of things. And then it's received by transportation services and sent to the school location as well. And that's where they can indicate on the report if this is just further information and awareness, if they're looking for additional support. And typically once we receive more than 2 of those, unless it's a severe incident, then we will look to support from the school in issuing service suspensions and having a period off of the bus. So that's typically the escalation part is where our schools are getting involved. Day-to-day managing of buses is all done through the contractors and the operators.
And so do we always assign a period to that suspension from the bus, period of time?
No, it differs depending on the severity of the incidents, and we typically leave that with the schools to decide what period works best.
Okay, thank you. And great report.
Thank you.
Associate Superintendent Corporate Services?
Thank you, Board Chair. And I just want to say we do involve the learning services team as well too with those behavior issues to try and get supports for the contractor and the principal as well too. I just want to clarify that they're also generally involved.
Trustee Buga?
Stacey Buga, Ward 5. I actually have 2 questions. First, for your startup meetings, you said kind of everybody's invited to the table. How many of our drivers attend?
So it really varies from community to community. We generally see most of our bus operators and whichever contractors are able to attend. So typically we'll do both schools in a community meeting together so that we don't have to duplicate very much. We have very good attendance. There's a couple of communities that is a little bit lesser. And I know there can be other things that interfere, like second jobs or other commitments that are at the same time that these are scheduled. So we do see an impact on that, but otherwise the attendance is really quite good.
Excellent. And to confirm with administration, that was part of what we agreed to as a board, I believe, to have that as a paid day for our contractors to attend the extra day? Or
No.
was that a optional?
Yeah, currently it's just an optional meeting to attend. So we have it either in the morning after the bus run or in the afternoon before the bus run. So it's an optional meeting at this time.
Okay. Thank you. And then my second question was just about ineligible riders. Just that one of the routes that was flagged as that overcapacity and longer ride time because it was a double loop. But in the notes, most of the students were ineligible. Do we tend to keep almost like one bus of ineligible riders and then, or are they picked up on whatever route happens to go by?
Yeah, they're typically when buses are passing by the student, those are the ones that are picking them up. So it does kind of vary depending on, but it's mostly our in-town students that are ineligible based on that distance criteria.
Trustee Dwyer?
Just a question to help me. On C5, do we always we have some riders that are on the Onaway side of the thing there. Are we going across that border to pick them up, or are we still all picking them up on this side?
Specific to Route C5, we're currently picking only up in the division. It does travel along the boundary road, so depending on what side of the road they live on, they could be considered outside boundary riders. So they sometimes are crossing the road to get on the bus inside the boundary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Trustee Pequin.
I don't have a question, just comment. This was the first time we've seen this format of report, I think, and it was fantastic. Like it broke down things that I should have known better about the supplemental bus. Of course, they have a spot on 2 buses. Didn't compute in my brain till I went, of course, right? Like, so I just really appreciate the detail in this report so that some people who don't always connect A and B can absolutely connect it. And like the 18 over 75 minutes, like this is good information. I really like this report.
Thank you.
I'll wrap up, I think, with a question. And I first agree completely with Trustee Pequin. This was a wonderful report, easy to read, way easier to understand it like this. My question is regarding the outstanding accounts, the overdue accounts. So November, I understand we get to November, discontinuation of services. Does that mean that those accounts then go away? Like, so if, let's say all 338 people decided, yeah, we're just going to drive our kids. What happens to, does that just fall off the books?
Yeah, so typically what we see is that people will make a decision either to make the payment on the overdue account or cancel their transportation. Most of the cancellations are students that aren't riding the bus currently anyway, so it's just a matter of record keeping at that point. They either registered at the start of the school year or they were rolled over from previous years in anticipation that they wanted the service. So lots of times we have parents reaching out and saying, hey, I realize I'm registered and I'm actually not accessing it. So those are the most typical actions from that.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Oh, sorry. Associate Superintendent Corporate Services.
Thank you. Just to Trustee Pequin's kind of comment there, I just want to slightly clarify that in most cases, yes, 2 separate buses, but sometimes it is 2 addresses on the same bus that they're requesting, and we only get funding to 1 address. So there are some instances where it just the way it works out is the same bus, but they want 2 different stops. So I just want to clarify that because we can only submit 1. And I do just know some concerns have come up with that particularly, so I just want to make sure everybody is clear on that.
All right. Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you.
We can now move on to 8.5, Human Resources Report. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair, and I will turn it over to the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources.
Lisa Lacroix, the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. I'm pleased to present the annual Human Resources Report for the 2023-2024 school year. Our primary goal in Human Resources Department is to attract, develop, and retain high-performing employees who are dedicated to delivering exceptional education to our students. Just going to run through some of the key areas of focus that we had. So in the area of recruitment and staffing, in support of our staffing efforts, I'd like to highlight the recruitment data presented in the HR annual report over the present year, or past year, sorry. We managed 171 recruitment postings for various positions across the division. Our total staff count as of September 25th, 2024 is 663, distributed as follows. 327 are ATA members, 231 are CUPE members, and 105 are GEC members. Additionally, we tracked 92 resignations and terminations, 132 end of contracts, and 14 retirements during the previous school year. Our participation in career fairs at the University of Alberta, Concordia University, Norquest College, and King's University further strengthened our recruitment efforts this past year. In our labor relations and collective agreement portfolio, HR played a pivotal role in negotiating with the unions and managing the administration of collective agreements for the ATA and the CUPE, as well as our non-unionized GEC employees. This year, we submitted over 1,543 payroll advices. These payroll advices transfer all the information from ourselves over to the payroll department when anyone is hired, terminated, moves locations, all of those different things. So that reflected changes in their compensation and benefits administration. In the area of professional growth and staff development, we prioritized employee development through onboarding, professional growth plans, and evaluations. The guides to evaluation for ATA and support staff were reviewed and revamped over the summer months. You'll see them further along in today's meeting. We would like to thank the Education Services team for their continued PD planning that guides the professional development of certificated staff, the Learning Services team for their continued education with educational assistants, as well as the SIS team for the work that they do with our office staff. It is with the assistance of all of these departments throughout central office that staff receive robust training that is relevant to their positions. In the area of succession planning, with 29% of our staff now aged over 50, succession planning will be one of our strategic priorities over the next several school years. We will focus on workforce development plans that address leadership continuity and prepare the next generation of leaders. In the 2023-2024 school year, 49 teachers and 38 support staff evaluations were conducted to ensure alignment with the performance standards that we have in our division. In terms of substitute teacher and casual support staff recruitment, we are constantly working to maintain a good pool of highly qualified candidates. This is an ongoing process with regular postings throughout the school year. As of September 20th, 2024, we have successfully increased our substitute teacher numbers to 140, an increase from 114 in the previous year. And additionally, our casual support staff numbers have also grown. For casual educational assistants, we are now at 95 from 54. Our casual office staff are at 14 from our 8, and casual custodian staff has increased to 9. We monitor the performance of all of our substitute and casual staff, addressing any concerns throughout the year with staff. When necessary, actions such as removal from the substitute list are taken to maintain the quality of the support provided in our schools and ensure that our students receive consistent, high-quality education in the absence of our regular staff. In the area of employee health and wellness, Human Resources supported 55 new disability cases throughout the year. with 23 active case managements at the end of December 2023. Historically, this is relatively stable. I will note that back in December 2017, I looked at the data from then and we had 24 active cases. So we are relatively stable. Further, I would like to note that our sick leave usage reduced by approximately 540 days last school year compared to the prior school year. Our Employee Family Assistance Program, which is available through ASEBP, had 28 new cases accessing their services over the last school year. Managing medical leave and supporting employees' well-being continues to be a key focus for our department, particularly for the Director of Human Resources. In the area of workplace safety and WCB, again, remaining a very high priority for us. Last school year, 18 new worker compensation claims were submitted, and we managed return to work transitions for most of these throughout that time. Our efforts resulted in a significant reduction in WCB surcharges, improving our industry ranking from 64 to 57, and reducing the surcharge from 90% to 23%. The HR director continues to work diligently with WCB to ensure staff are offered modified duties and or return to full-time duties quickly and as safely as possible. In this area, I would be again remiss if I did not recognize the contribution that learning services plays in this reduction, as they review each incident with the school and ensure that processes are put in place to minimize the risk to students and staff. This may be things like additional training, review of safety plans, or movement of staff to different assignments. In closing, I would just like to emphasize that these efforts contribute directly to the success of our students and our ability to maintain healthy and productive workforce. I would like to say a special thank you to the HR team for their continued dedication to the division and allowing many of the items shared with you today to function seamlessly while maintaining a positive work environment. Moving forward, we will continue to focus on recruitment, staff wellness, and creating a supportive environment that aligns with the division's strategic vision. Thank you for your time. Administration is happy to respond to any questions.
Questions, comments? Trustee Dwyer.
Thank you for that report. It was great. But I just for my sake, again, 92 resignations last year. I think that's what you said.
92 terminations. So
Terminations.
that would be resignations, end of contract, retirements, all of those.
Okay, so is that a normal number? It just sounds high to me, that's all.
Well, as you know, during our staff planning last year, we ended up having to let go a number of probationary temporary
that's in that
contracts.
number.
So that's all encompassed.
Inclusive.
And that is over the whole year. That is not just in June, 92 people left. That is throughout the entire year. 92 people, they could have been filling in for a sick leave or maternity leave or something like that. And so that is the complete number for the entire year.
Thank you. That clarifies it for me. Thank you.
Trustee Gibbons.
Trustee Gibbons, Ward 7. Right. It's more of a comment. I was very pleased with this report. Thank you for the time and effort put into it. And I was very happy to see us go from our ranking of 64 to 57. So that in itself to me shows the effort that the entire team, HR, learning services, schools, everybody involved is working hard to make the working environment safer.
Trustee Buga.
Stacy Buga, Ward 5. Yeah, again, some really positive things in here. I just wanted to, I guess, just some opinion. I know that there's a note there that the WCB premiums are calculated on a 3-year experience. We've got kind of COVID years that are included in some of these. And again, with sick leave and some of the policies that were in place specifically due to COVID and taking, significant days off. Now we are seeing I mean, COVID is not over. We still have it. I just want to make sure that staff are, well, that everybody understands that, yeah, when you're sick, you do need to stay home and let's not spread it in our schools. But that balance of responsible practice of being there, but that COVID and the flu and all of those things are still very serious diseases that we don't want spreading to all of our families and children as well. So just if you can comment a little bit on kind of the remnants of those COVID policies and how that's affecting our WCB, just because it is a kind of spread over a 3-year claim average. Thanks.
I just wanted to clarify that WCB is actually accidents in the school or those types of things where because of being at work, you were hurt. And so that is just injuries. So it doesn't, that's not reflective of actual sick days taken because of the flu or COVID or anything like that. Through the COVID years, we may have had a couple of WCB claims where they claimed that they got COVID while at school, but we don't, those are not things that we're recognizing at this point in time. So that should not have an impact at all in regards to our WCB claims.
I have a concern and a question. So my concern is regarding succession planning. And the concern is the recent announcement of 200 new seats being established in Alberta and the high demand for teachers as that rolls out. So with 29% of our staff over 50, do you have strategies, concerns, plans to deal with you're going to be fighting for teachers in an already tight market? So that's my concern there. My question is regarding the Employee Family Assistance Program. Numbers continue to drop, and I don't know if there's a financial commitment that the board makes to that. Is that part of what we get with ASCBP? Just concerned with the numbers going down if it's still needed.
So for the succession planning, that is why we are going out to more universities than we have in the past. We hadn't been going out. As you can see, there is still a really big uptake of people that want to be on our substitute staff list, which is really good for us because then we get them out into the division. We always talk about when we're in the universities that it's great to get on our sub list because you get to know our schools as well as we get to know you. So I think that really helps to get the new teachers coming out really engaged in our school division. You know, so I think that's one of the things that we're definitely targeting is focusing on that, you know, making sure that there's great learning opportunities as Ed Services is doing very well with our new teacher cohort, you know, making the new teachers feel really welcome in our division. I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought. What was your second question?
The Family Assistance Program trends.
Yes. So ASCBP, that's actually free. It comes with ASCBP. And actually, we want to see more usage of EFAP. So we do continually try to promote it. We're trying to find a balance about between staff feeling like we're bombarding them with emails all the time about EFAP because then they just don't pay attention to it anymore. So we're trying to find a balance of getting that information to them, you know, doing things like sticking it around in bathrooms where you have a, you know, focused attention of an audience.
Captive audience.
Yeah, you know, so things like that. But just, yeah, we're actually, because the more use we have of that, the reduced use of sick leave and mental health leave and those types of things you'll see. So it's actually a little bit discouraging to see it drop a little bit. So we'll do a little bit more focused, not recruitment, but advertising of it over the next school year.
Trustee Murray Elliott.
Commissioner Murray Elliott, Ward 4. And further to that, I wonder if, because we are using a new provider now, have you had any feedback on the success of the new provider? Perhaps that is a reason that the cases are dropping. Personally, I think I've heard that some people aren't too thrilled with the new provider, although maybe they aren't used to them yet, or maybe that's something that could be looked at if this is something that a SEBP is seeing as a trend overall that they might want to consider.
So I just, in response to that, I wouldn't have that information because if they do, I haven't, we haven't heard a lot of negative feedback about it throughout in our office, but I could, would have to follow up with ASCBP to see what kind of comments. I know that whenever you use any of their available services, that they oftentimes get, you'll get an email that asks you, what did you think of this provider? And then you could, provide your comments. I have not, however, heard anything good or bad in relation to that. So.
Trustee Gibbons.
Trustee Gibbons, Ward 7. Just to follow up back with this succession planning, I think it's also important for us to be aware as the board that we need to play an active role in that as well. And that's by ensuring that when we go through the ed plan, that we have those in programming and that we're supporting our senior admin so that our division is the desired place to work. Because I think that's what we're gonna have to do for fighting for staff.
Good point. Trustee Buga?
Stacey Buga, Ward 5. Just real quick as an aside, as the role of trustee, if we do want to take a look, the PSBAA's latest research paper is on recruitment and retention of teachers and professional staff in rural and northern Alberta. That is being hosted this Friday at 2 p.m. After that, the paper will be, right now it's embargoed until after that presentation. So might give us some insight on how to advocate as well at the trustee level.
And that's Friday at 2 for anybody interested in registering for it. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding the Human Resource Annual Report? All right, seeing none and understanding that lunch is actually here, I think this is a good place to break. The next report is also lengthy, so let's break for lunch, returning back at 12:30. Thanks. All right, welcome back. We are starting at 8.6 Communications Report, September and October 2024. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will turn this over to the deputy.
Thank you, Chair and Superintendent. For your information is the monthly communication report highlight that talks about how we're advancing the goals of, highlight staff expertise and excellence, consistency in communication and messaging, building staff capacity, improving broad public perception, and improving division-wide communication. The highlights that communications are choosing to share, I hope, show their dedication to achieving their goals. They are in schools. They are working on consistent messaging. The newsletter is out, and our first set of interviews highlighting staff expertise, that the one highlighted in the report is yet to come, but I hope you saw on social media the highlight with another of our fantastic STEAM educators online that was in Facebook just the other day. One thing I wanted to highlight near the end is, you can see here links to other places that we've been acknowledged in the news and upcoming events. Just wanted to mention, like Métis Week is normally the week after, but given where fall break happened, working with our Métis learning coach, we've been promoting this with our schools consistently, that this will be the week that we highlight activities in honor of that week. Prepared to take any questions?
Any questions, comments regarding the communications report? Seeing none, we will move to 8.6 communication, 8.7, sorry, Deputy Superintendent Education Services Report. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. And again, I will turn it over to the deputy to speak to his report.
Thank you. John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. Provided for the board's information here is a summary of activities the deputy myself does directly, but I also want to emphasize this is the team. The efforts that you see here Often my role is coordination, consultation, support, guidance, meeting, work, and then the team is doing the heavy lifting. And I just want to acknowledge that. I have the good fortune of working with a number of fantastic people, and much of this report highlights their work. I'm not sure I really want to go line by line, so instead I will say it's here for your information, but administration is ready to take questions on any part of the report that you'd like to know more about.
Trustee Buga.
Stacey Buga, Ward 5. Couple questions, just around curriculum and that kind of thing. There's noted that opportunities to learn from Karen West at U of A. Just curious, is that something that is facilitated by the province to make sure that we are getting the right curriculum resources, or is this something initiative that we have put out to make sure our teachers are prepared?
Yes, Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you, John Conrad. This is the curriculum team, certainly the coordinator making sure that this happens, but coordinator also works closely with education planning, of course, and they also work very, very closely with the coordinator of Indigenous instruction. And so this is that team finding this resource, knowing it would be a great support. And I've popped in on the 4 to 6 teachers on their curriculum day building out, because I resonate being an ex-science teacher. This is our initiative, not the government. The government's providing resources to support understanding new curriculum. So it is using the support that comes from Alberta government, but this specific partnership is something that Sturgeon has reached out to.
And then my second question,
please,
was just around assessments. Sorry, you had written K-9 assessments, and are we seeing alignment with the new mandated assessments versus ones that we were already doing? Are we pulling those further up than we have to so that we can, there's continuity? Just curious about the assessment process now that there's so many new provincial mandates. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. So understanding assessments and benchmarks, the Alberta government has certainly, as you know, we've shared, I believe, that there are more screeners and assessments, certainly in the early grades, than before. In response to that, some of our longer standing benchmark assessments like Pontus and Pinnell, we have expertise, we understand how to use them, and we have the resources in our school. But to have them be required by every grade in addition to the required provincial screening, they are different tools, but feedback from classroom instructors is there's a lot of required right now. So what we've done is we continue to support other assessments. I'm going to continue to use Pontus Pinnell as an example. Because we have all those resources. So now we're seeing in schools the use of that. Once we have other ways, maybe the provincial screening, but identified we need a better understanding of where the reading comp level is, or the independent reading here, or we want to hear them read back to us, then we might use Pontus and Pinnell because we have the understanding and we have the resources, but we are not mandating that. Now, the provincial screeners kind of run out around that grade 4, so we have the reading comprehension. You heard a bit of the RCAT tool, and we're doing that 5 to 12. Math assessment is in flux. We have been working with a few neighboring school divisions that are doing some really interesting work with math assessment. But the provincial government has made it known that they're working on math screening and assessments as well. And so at this point, waiting for that direction from the government, if I may. And then also when we have MIPI, because we are now in a place where the grades we have MIPI for, that we don't have screeners for, is very, very slim, and it's assessing students that haven't had the curriculum alignment up until that point. And so the tool seems not valid anymore. So we're not requiring MIPI. But we remain committed to better understanding our kids. The point of assessing the beginning, they are a lot right now, but we are working to say, what do they provide us? What actionable information can our teachers gain from a mandated assessment? So we have to do it. We have to spend class time on it. So what can we do in response to that information? That was more of an answer than I think you asked for, and I apologize for that. But hopefully that informed the board.
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you for the report. Lots of this stuff comes to us through other reports throughout the year. It's nice to see it in this format. And I'm sure it's a lot of work to pull it all together, so thanks. And to Lisa as well, because I don't think I thanked you for yours, but you know, it's appreciated. Thank you. Yeah. All right, let's move to 8.8, the 24-25 Superintendent Discretionary Fund. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. So provided as it is each month, here's a summary of discretionary dollars that have been allocated from September 17th to October 16th. So the vice principal full-time equivalency staffing for Gal Public School leadership support, additional teacher FTE at Lanning Trail to support backfilling for the principal who is also taking over Legal Public School. And that's where I am for this time of year.
Questions, comments, concerns? Trustee Buga.
Stacy Buga, Ward 5. I guess as always, we often are worried that we're going to run out before the end of the year. So if you wouldn't mind, Superintendent, just ease my mind on the amount that is left as in relation to the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great question to ask. The Superintendent Discretionary Fund was quite large for a few years, but we've lessened it because our goal is to look at the funding we have, get it to our schools, and you know we've worked a lot on that, and Corporate Services and the team has done great work with that, working with Education Services and working with our principals. So any students we gain after September 30th, I know we want to keep certain dollars back, but I feel that then we're not honoring actually how we're funded. So this is also difficult because as superintendent, I'm still making decisions. And so it's always looking at, well, the answer is no for that because we have to focus on students. And so I do not feel that an amount higher than what was allocated this year I would ever feel would be necessary, because our goal is to get the dollars to our school, say this is your funding for the year. And that's historically how it does work. You get kids after September 30th, they come every day, they come during the year. We don't get additional funding for them. So yes, it is, it's running out fairly quickly this year, and I will keep on to that little bit with less money, and hopefully it will support our schools, any needs or anything that moves in for the rest of the year.
Trustee Dwyer.
I guess I asked this question without Regis here, but the Gal school always bothers me, the amount of money we're spending there for the amount of kids we have in that school, and then we're going to add another 50,000 here. I'm not saying it's not needed, but I just, can we support that a little bit here in conversation? Like the Gal school leadership support. So did we have that before with the principal? Was that new, or is that? I hope I'm asking this right.
So we had a change in leadership. And so the full-time vice principal, because there's a temporary maybe change right now. So that is to ensure consistency. The board made the decision to focus on the Gal school. Our focus this year is to grow enrollment and do great work. And so in order to support our parents, our families, it was a lot of change at the beginning of the year. We felt that consistency by having the vice principal there full time was very important. Because as you said, Trustee Dwyer, the board has made a commitment. How long that commitment goes for will be a board decision moving forward. But in order for the school to be successful, this was as a team what we felt needed to happen in order to set it up for success to see if we could grow enrollment.
Thank you.
I guess my concern sort of piggybacks trustee Buga's in that we aren't even halfway through we're not even into the second semester and we're already in the last pennies of the discretionary fund. So I sincerely hope that we have everything sorted out and we don't have any surprises in the new year. Okay, if there's no further questions, comments, we'll move to 8.9 superintendent report. Superintendent Warren.
Again, as provided each month, there's my superintendent report, and if anybody has any questions.
Do you have any pictures of your rock snake? I've read that 3 times and I'm like,
Have they taken pictures of they had to switch from the snake? I don't think we have pictures. We'd have to put it out. But it was very therapeutic, by the way, painting rocks. I enjoyed painting them.
yeah, I read that 3 times. I'm like, a rock snake, like a snake made of rocks. I need to see this.
It's like a collage picture where you drew individual pictures and put it into a mosaic. That's what it's like.
Okay, questions, comments, concerns with the superintendent report? All right, moving on to 8.10 Administrative Procedure 2.205, sorry, Developing Administrative Procedures. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. So our admin procedures are reviewed and developed, changed, updated, amended on a regular basis. So admin procedure 205, developing administrative procedures, was up for regular review. And so this one just has some minor amendments that were made to it. And the core procedures and responsibilities have remained. So this is an updated AP.
Questions, comments, concerns? Trustee Buga.
Stacy Buga, Ward 5. I know it's not really our place to comment on admin procedures, but I really appreciate that this one in particular, the purpose of it now aligned with board policy division, mission, vision, and values. Just as we're working really hard to make sure that our policies and even our memos are aligning with these documents. I appreciate that being added to this one as pretty much the only change that took place. Thanks.
All right, 8.11 Administrative Procedures 723 Growth, Supervision, and Evaluation of Principals and Vice Principals. Superintendent Warren.
I will be turning this over to the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. And again, our admin procedures are reviewed and developed on a regular scheduled basis. And so 723 was up for review.
Associate Superintendent, Human Resources.
Lisa Lacroix, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. So Administrative Procedure 723, Growth, Supervision, and Evaluation of Principals and Vice Principals, plays a crucial role in ensuring that school leaders are held to the highest standards of leadership, directly contributing to the effectiveness of Sturgeon schools and overall success of Sturgeon students. So recent amendments to this procedure focused on 2 key areas: clarification of the evaluation timelines. Timelines for evaluations are now clearly defined, providing better structure and consistency in how we assess the school leaders, and grammatical corrections and improvements for clarity. Administration is prepared to respond to any questions.
And are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. 8.12 Administrative Procedure 725 Teacher Growth, Supervision, and Evaluation. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. And again, this AP was up for review, and I will turn it over to the Associate of HR.
Lisa Lacroix. Again, Administrative Procedure 725, Teacher Growth and Supervision, reflects the division's commitment to ensuring that all teachers demonstrate professional actions, judgments, and decision in the best interest of all the students. And to support this, we provide our certificated staff with opportunities for continued professional growth and ensuring they can meet the needs of the students and uphold the teacher quality standard and code of professional conduct throughout their career. The primary update to this administrative procedure, we changed professional staff to certificated staff, so the terminology, to ensure it aligned with provincial terminology. And that was pretty much the change in that one. We are prepared to respond to any questions.
Seeing none. Thank you for that. Moving to 8.13 Administrative Procedure 726 Support Staff Performance Reviews. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. And again, this is another HR AP, so I'm going to turn it over to the Associate of HR.
Lisa Lacroix. Again, Administrative Procedure 726 Support Staff Growth Supervision and Evaluation outlines the process for the continuous growth, supervision, and evaluation of all non-certificated staff within Sturgeon Public Schools. This includes those in supervisory and leadership roles. This was quite an intensive revised procedure that ensured that all support staff actively engage in enhancing their performance on an ongoing basis. The immediate supervisor, whether it is a principal, a director, or a manager, is responsible for ongoing supervision, which includes two-way communication, self-evaluation, feedback, and coaching. The evaluation process is based on their job responsibilities that is outlined in their job descriptions and the Sturgeon Public Schools Support Staff Standard. Mandatory evaluations take place before the end of the probationary period, annually for GEC employees requiring an increment, and every 3 years for QP and top salary grid GEC employees. An important update in this procedure is a new requirement for support staff to develop annual professional growth plans with their supervisors when they are not undergoing an evaluation for that year. This procedure provides a structured and supportive approach to fostering growth and effectiveness of support staff, ensuring they continue to meet the high standards expected across our division. Administration is prepared to respond to any questions.
Trustee Buga.
Stacey Buga, Ward 5. Just because this was a lot to read and comparing and all that kind of stuff, does the annual for GEC and 3 years for CUP, does that affect how they move up the grid? Do they need competencies prior to moving up, or is that, can you just explain how these correlate?
So for GEC employees, there has to be a positive evaluation on file for them to move up the grid, so the additional steps. Unfortunately, with QP and the ATA, it's just based on their days and years in the service. There is no evaluation that coincides with their increments.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to section 9, reports from trustees and standing committees. Chair's report. My report is in the package for your review. I guess if I was going to speak to any one highlight, I sincerely enjoyed our time at PSBAA. For everybody who could attend, I am sincerely appreciative of that. I enjoyed the time together as a board. Trustees report, and we will start to my right.
Stacey Buga, Ward 5. My report is included in the board package for your review. As you can see, it's been very busy this month. I'm really excited about school councils this evening, as well as student advisory next week. I was happy to attend our first agenda review with our new co-chairs at Sturgeon Comp and create the agenda. And it's very different. It's very much student-led, and I'm really excited to see how the meeting goes next week.
Superintendent or Trustee Gibbons.
Trustee Gibbons, Ward 7. I submitted my report late, but it will be in the minutes. And my highlight would be that Sturgeon Composite High School football junior and senior teams are playing in the semifinals this week. So wish them luck.
Yes, we do. Trustee Dwyer.
Joe Dwyer, the Ward 3. The only thing out besides all what we've all attended, is that last night actually at Camilla, we had a learning of Indigenous ways and those type of things. We had about 25 parents show up, which was really good. And went on for about 2 hours, and parent council put that on and it turned out very well for them. So everything else pretty well normal.
Thank you. Trustee Pequin.
Janine Peckman, my report is submitted. It was late, but it was in there before. I'm proud of myself. Same as everything else. Redwater School Council has a robust council this year. It is the most members I have seen since I have been a trustee. There's like 8 or 9, which is fantastic for that school. So shout out to them for getting some people in that building and making it a robust discussion. So that's my highlight is Oka Parks has always been great, but the high school has struggled. So it's good this year.
Trustee Murray Elliott.
Trish Murray Elliott, Ward 4. My report has been submitted, and I would say my highlight was definitely Read-In Week at Sturgeon Heights. The secretary, the administration was very helpful and set me up with 12 different classes to read. Each grade had a different book, and I got a chance to chat with each of those students, and it was just so special. And the feedback I got was that they enjoyed it too. So that was fantastic.
It's amazing. How many hours were you there reading? Oh. Wonderful. Oh, Trustee Buga, yep.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, forgot actually to put that on there. I also do that, but today, if anybody is interested, school or the advisory committee for the learning centers is meeting today at 4 o'clock. If anybody's got some downtime between meetings and is not going home, you're always welcome to join in and see what's going on at the learning centers.
Fantastic. Okay. Committee of the Whole report. It's here in our package. I don't think we need anybody to speak to it.
No.
It's there for your perusal. 9.4 Policy Committee report. Trustee Buga.
I can report on that as it was, I chaired that meeting in the absence of Trustee Pequin. From that report, you will see on our next Committee of the Whole agenda, we have moved some policies for a full group discussion that will be coming to a future public board. So.
Okay. Questions, comments? All right, seeing none. Moving into reports from special committees, task groups, 10.1 Alberta School Boards Association rep. Perfect, thank you. 10.2 Public School Boards Association of Alberta representative. And Cindy won't be with us till closed. Pardon me? You can speak. Do you want to speak?
Well, I'll just say that, yes, we had a great FGM, and thanks to all the trustees that came, and it was a good time, and I'm sure a lot of the information will be posted shortly.
10.3 Rotary report.
Yeah, what I'd like to report is that with our Interact group at the high school, there's a lot of volunteerism leadership coming out of that group. Another thing that Rotary is going to do is look at sponsoring a session for public speaking and communication for them. So that looks like it's going to go ahead, but I will tell you they're a very active group. Chair from last year, everybody knows, is on the youth council, and the chair this year is just got an award. I can't remember. Sorry, I apologize, but I can't remember what it was. So, I mean, some strong people on that group, and they're not just sitting back, they're very active, and the Rotary is gonna look at um, maybe a few dollars more for allow them to look at different PD and different things to do, so it's turned out really good.
Amazing.
And again, Rotary will have their grants for awards night and stuff like that. I believe they've been contacted, and that's in progress, so.
Thank you. Anybody attend the Chamber of Commerce meetings in October? Don't think so either. Okay, Community Services Advisory Board. I know that our representative is not here, so maybe we will defer that till next meeting then. She can do a twofer on that day. Any unfinished business? Comment and question period from the gallery? Seeing none, can I get a motion to go in camera? Trustee Dwyer, all in favor?